All right, guys. So today I'm just going to work through recreating this team card. Then we're going to show it as a grid with a few options on it. I'm going to start from scratch and work through creating the custom post type, the layout, the effect, everything from scratch. I'm not sure how long this video is going to take. So I'm obviously using Bricks Builder for this. I'm using Metabox to create my custom post type and custom fields that go with it. You could use ACF, pods, whatever you use for your custom post types. I'm also using automatic CSS just to simplify some of the variables, keep it consistent. If you don't have automatic CSS, that's fine. You can just use your own variables or fixed values if you want. With ACS, I've also got some custom rules that I create so I don't have to repeat myself. And I'm also using advanced thema for parts of the productivity here and working out where I'm going. And if you don't have that, that's also okay. You can certainly work through without that as well. So that's the tools that I'm using. What we're looking at on the screen here is a team member card, which is a custom post type. If I roll my mouse over it, anywhere over that card at all, the whole thing is clickable. The actual link is the heading, this Alex Morgan here, but it is clickable from anywhere. When I roll my mouse over, the image goes from desaturated to saturated, zooms in a bit, color of my link changes just to indicate that's what we're actually clicking on. And I've got my excerpt here, which is clipped to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines. And then I've got some chips down here, which is another custom loop or bricks loop, I should say, for some skills that we've got here, which is something we've also created in Metabox as a group or repeater or whatever you like to call it. And it's also accessible. So if I press my tab key, it goes to it. If I press it go away from it, then it tabs away. So it does exactly the same thing as when I'm hovering my mouse. So what I want to do is start from scratch and work through. So I'm going to actually delete everything that I've done here. I've actually opened this up in Firefox as well, so we can refer back to it. But for the moment, I'm going to go back into my setup here. I'm going to my pages. Where's our team? I'm going to trash that page. Where's my Metabox? Going to go to my Metabox. Custom fields. I'm going to trash the team member fields. I'm going to trash the post type for team member. I'm going to also, so that leaves us with, okay, I need to delete all the bricks classes. Sorry, I should have done that first. So just go to my pages. In fact, I'm going to start again. I'm going to create a new team member page. Okay, publish that, edit that with bricks. Okay, here we go here. Why have I got that there? Shouldn't have any content. That's a brand new page. Anyway, so there's a page there. I'm just going to add a section just so I can access my global. This section, advanced theme feature for your global class manager. I'm going to get rid of everything to do with that team member. So there's my team grid, team card. Get rid of everything. This is a cool feature in advanced SEMA where you can access the global class manager here. You can also access the classes that are just from a element down. Great new feature in AT or advanced SEMA. Okay, so basically I'm starting clean here. So I'm going to hit the save on that. So I've got rid of all those. I think I had a couple of others, but I'll come back to that. Excuse the noise in the background. I've just got a rubbish truck decided to start servicing outside of my apartment. Okay, so coming back to automatic CSS. First thing we need to do is we need to create our post type for this team member. Sorry, not ACSS. First thing in WordPress we need to do is create the post types. We're going to do our post types here. We're going to create a new post type, which is our team member. So team and team member. Now that gives us a standard slug. I'm not going to worry out the labels. I'm not going to worry out the advanced. You can come back to this a little bit later, change your icons, change whether it's got a archive or not, whatever you want. This is just to get it up and running so we can style it. Okay, the supports, I'm going to leave the title in the editor. I'm not going to worry about the thumbnail. You can if you want to. I'm going to put an actual Metabox field there so it just sits in with everything else. We want a excerpt. Let's have revisions in there as well. So let's keep that nice and simple. We don't want to bother with taxonomies. Publish that. Okay, so we've got a team member custom post type now. Need to add some fields to it. So let's go to our custom fields. In Metabox, going to add new team member. Okay, so what do we do? So here it's the post type of team member. It's under our settings. Okay, what fields did we need? We needed let's go to the, so in here we needed a photo. We're going to get the title from the actual post title. The excerpt we're going to get from the post content. And we need a position. Actually, I haven't put his position here. And we need some skills. Okay. And I think I'm going to add a featured button in there as well. So I'm going to just add those now. Okay, so the first thing we need is a photo. So I'm going to go image. Let's just do a single image and call that photo. There's our photo. Okay, we don't need to worry about any other settings on that. We just leave that as it is. We need a position. That'll be text. So text here, and we're going to call that position. We're going to add another field, and that's going to be a switch. And that's featured. With the featured one, I'm just going to add another little thing here, which is in my previous video, which you might want to refer back to. I'm going to change this. I'm going to automatically add this as a data attribute just by adding data. This isn't a standard feature. Look at my previous video on automatically turning data attributes or Metabox field attributes into data attributes. So all we have to do is add data underscore here, and that'll become a featured switch. Now we need our skills. So we got over in the example here, we've got a skills being output as chips. So let's go to the Metabox, and we want this kind. We want a group. So we're going to actually, if we create a group, we can then use that as a custom query loop in Bricks. So I'm going to call this our skills group. Okay, and we're just going to call next one is a text. Sorry, I need to go into the skills group and I need to add a subfield, which is a text, and that is going to be called skill. Okay, so the skills group with a single field called skill. On the skills group, we're going to make it clonable, and let's make it sortable as well. Why not? Okay, so that's our fields done. So we've got a photo, position, featured, and skills. Just check out our box here. We've got a photo, position we haven't used here. We'll chuck that in there. This is part of the standard CPT content, and we've got some skill set down here. So that's everything we need. Publish. Now, the other thing is whenever you create a new custom post type in Bricks, not in Bricks, I've got to get my terminology, in WordPress, it's always a good idea to go to your settings, permalinks, and just press the save changes. That just updates the permalink structure. So when you go to a post single for in this case, a team member, you're not going to get a page not found. It knows how to find it because it's updated the permalink structure for that. So that's just something you should be doing for that. Now let's go to our team members. I've actually already got one in there. I'm going to trash that. Now I've got just to give us a bit of a cheat. I've just done in what is it, ChatGPT. I've just asked here to create some example bios with some names and some skills. So I'm going to grab this name here, Alex Morgan. Chuck that in the title. We're going to grab the bio. Chuck that in the block there. We've got our photo here. It's going to use that one there. In our position, we'll call developer. We're not going to feature him yet. We're going to actually, maybe we'll feature the next one. Actually, we will feature the first one. Sorry. Let's go to our skills. I'll just say WordPress. We're going to add a skill. PHP. More. We'll just do 3 for him. Okay. So that's Alex Morgan done. So publish. We're going to add a new team member. We're going to grab the next one, which is Jordan Castillo. All made up names from ChatGPT. Add a media. I'm just going to use instant images here. And just a headshot. There we go. So that can be our next one. This instant images is doing a weird thing. See here, it's selected, downloaded, but you can't hit the select. So if I go to upload files, doesn't work, go back, do it again, go to my media library, and the one I've just downloaded is there. So it's just some weird thing happening with, it's just started happening with it. And we'll call him a graphic designer. Graphic designer, I think we featured the first one, so we won't feature him. We're going to go back to his skills. We'll just put CSS and maybe custom. I'll just put custom design. That'll do. So he's got a couple of skills. Okay, so now we've got 2 team members. So how quick was that? We've created our Metabox CPT, we've created some custom fields for it, and we've created a couple of team members just using ChatGPT. All right, so go to the pages now. And on our pages, have I got a team member page? I don't think I have. Yes, I have. I just created that from scratch. So I'm going to edit that with Bricks. Ooh, hold on, what's that there? I think what's happened, it's given it the same slug. Okay, so pages. It has. It's given it exactly the same slug, which is why that messed up. Okay, let's go back to our pages. And we'll just trash that. And just make sure we haven't messed up our team members. No. So what was happening is the slug was exactly the same for that as it was for the page. It shouldn't happen, but sometimes it does in WordPress. So go back to our pages, and I'll just create a new page called team. Okay, so we've got a blank page there. I've got no header and footer. This is just a demo site. So I'm going to add a section in that section. This is all advanced schema, by the way, on the side here. I'm going to add a block here. I'm going to call that my team grid. Underneath that block, I'm going to put a team card. And under the card, what do we need? We need a photo, I'm going to put a wrapper in here. See how photo goes all the way to the edge. So I'm just going to put the image as its own element. Then I'm going to put a wrapper on this slot here. So I'm going to just add under there a image. We can actually reorder these a little bit later. We're going to add another block, which will be our wrapper. And under the wrapper, we're going to have our heading, which will just leave as a heading 3, and that's going to be our title. We're also going to have a basic text, which will be our excerpt, which is called the bio. And then we're going to have another block under that, which will be our skills. Okay, and each skill is going to have I'm going to make it a div. because we want these to be wrap, not full width. So I'm going to have under the skills, I'm just going to put a div. There's my div there. So this will be the skill. I'll call that skills list. Okay, so there we go there. Well, I've got two team grids, team grid team card. There you go. So that's our structure we're going to have. Is there anything else? I think we did miss something in the other one. We didn't have our position, which should go up under the title. We can style all that a bit later. Now these are all defaulting to P, so that's okay. It's okay. It's okay. All right, now just a little bit of structure here. So our grid is going to be a UL. Our team card is going to be an LI. And going further down in our wrapper, our skill set is going to be a loop as well. So that's going to be a UL, and our card is going to be an LI. So anything that is a list should be a list. If we look at our design here, we've got each of these cards will be an item in a list, and each of these chips will be an item in a list as well. So ULs and LIs, we do have some stuff we need to tidy up for that. And there we go, we're ready to go. So I'm going to start with the top here. Now I'm going to create a class there. I'm going to call it Team Grid. AT has a feature where you can do a lot of this automatically. And also that's being enhanced in the new version 2. Automatic CSS has also got an auto BEM creator coming out as well, which will be useful, but we're going to do this manually for now. So there's my team grid. I'm going to call this one my team card. Okay, now the team card, I'm going to call that team card __ for element. We call this photo. Okay, and by the way, by default now, Bricks sets the HTML tag to a figure, which is great for what we want to do here. We go to our wrapper. So that's team card wrapper. Okay, and we got a title. Got a position. We've got a bio. What else? We got a skills list. Oops, not underscore dash list. It's really important to get your BEM naming right so that it's consistent. So in this case, I accidentally put an underscore between the skills and the list, which is invalid. So it's always block with separated with dashes, elements separated with 2 underscores, and then the name of the element underneath that is the separated with dashes again. Okay, so make sure you get that correct. And then we're going to go to our skill here and just make that a skill. Okay, so our BEM structure set up. There's a really cool thing here in AT, which I'm going to show you. If I right click on that and go to my component class manager, it's going to show me all of the classes that I've actually set up in there. And I can start styling those up when I am ready. So let's look firstly at the team grid. And in the team grid, we want to set that to be a grid. Make sure you got your class selected. Set it to be a grid. We want it to be, let's say, make a 3-column grid. So we're going to go grid 3. Grid 3. So we've got a 3-column grid. Let's put some gap in there, or gap. This is our standard grid. These are ACSS variables. If you don't have ACSS, you can create your own variables or put values in there yourself. It's up to you. But I've also got, you'll notice here I've got a gap L, gap S, which is not standard automatic thema. Boy, I'm getting the muddled up. Not standard ACSS. What I find is that quite often I'm doing a gap divided by 2 or a gap times 2. So what I've done, I'm just going to quickly show you that, is in WP code box for my site. So I'm actually creating a few extra variables here. It's using the ACSS variables. So I've got an S and an L for my gap, which is times divided by 2 and times 2. S and L for my content gap, which is again divided by 2 and times 2. I've also got a list reset, which gets rid of my list style, padding, and margin. And I'll come back to these clamps a little bit later, but that's additional style that I've created there. So here we go. So we've got a grid gap. We've got a single item there. We've got, we noticed that on our card, which is a, on our grid, which is a UL, we've got some padding on the side here. So I've created a class here called list reset. It's just an easy way to do it. You can do this in Bricks itself if you want to. So what we want to do is go back to that team grid. We're going to add list reset to that, and that gets rid of all of our margin, padding, lots of stuff on that list. We've got a second list here, which is our skills list. I'm going to put that, put that on there as well, and get rid of the padding and the disk and the margin, everything that's on there. All right, so let's start styling this thing up a little bit. So the first thing we're going to do is look at our card. And on our card, we've got that's the size of our card because it's in a 3-column grid. We want a few things here. First of all, we want to put some gap. Actually, no, we don't, because our wrapper is going to give us our gap. So on our wrapper, we want to put some row gap of gap. This is where my gap L, gap S comes in. So I'm using the content gap S because I want a small gap on these cards. Again, you could use calc content gap divided by 2. It just makes it easier for me to do that. So I've got a gap now between my elements inside that wrapper. I'm going to put some padding on there. I'm going to use the same spacing. Content gap of small, all the way around. So we've got some padding around that card now. Now, I'm going to show you a couple of things here. I'm going to leave this order as it is for now, just so I can show you a problem with a clickable parent issue that a lot of people come across. But what I want is, from an accessibility point of view, I want this heading to be the first thing that the screen reader reads. So I actually technically want this to be before the image, but I want the display to show the image before this. But I'm going to change that a little bit later. Right, so there's my content there. So let's go to my team card, and we're going to put some border on that. Now, you could just go through and put borders and backgrounds and box shadows and everything using the UI. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to use custom CSS, and the reason I do that is for simple overrides. Now, if these borders and box shadows had a way where you can stick in a variable in here instead of using all these individual attributes, I would probably use the UI. But because it doesn't have that, it's easier to do it with CSS. So what we're going to do is start from the team card, and we're going to start with root, and we're going to we're going to define some variables at the team card level. So we're going to maybe we'll call that border of I don't know, we'll just start it with, say, 1 pixel solid, and we'll use a shade as an ACSS variable. You can use exactly what you want. We're going to use a transparency shade trans. I don't know, let's just use the 20. That'll do. So we've got a variable for the border. We're going to do a variable for the background. We'll just make it white for now. And that's 2 variables that we need. I think that's all we need for that. It is. So then we do another root. I like to separate the variables from the actual application of those variables, so we can easily just see these are the ones we need to override if we want to create variations of it. Okay, so we're going to do the root, and we're going to set the border to a var of, And the autocomplete doesn't work for these CSS variables that are created in here, so we'll just use that there. And border background, we'll use that there. What we might do also is a border radius. I'll say we'll use a variable. So we'll use I think it's space. It is space X. Here we go. Space XS. We'll use that as our, pretty sure there's another variable in ACSF that's probably more appropriate. But we'll use that as a border radius there. And on here, we're just going to go border radius. Okay, so we got a basically styled card with a border radius. And we see we actually got some overflow issue here, so we need to set overflow on that. Oh, I'm not seeing it. Oh, temp card. We need to set overflow to hidden on that card. To hidden. So we clip the actual image that's inside there as well. Okay. So there's a basic style. Let's have a look now at what we've got. So you can see I didn't put any spacing between the image and the wrapper, because in the wrapper I'll put some padding around it, which gives us the spacing, and then I'll put some row gap between the items in there, which gives us the same spacing as the padding. So I don't need a gap between the image and that heading there. All right, so what do we need next? Let's go to the team card. Let's have a look at what we actually got over here. All right, so we got that, we got that. Let's actually turn it into a loop, so we've got some stuff there. So on the team card, I'm going to turn that into a bricks loop, and I'm going to pick my posts of team members, and we should get 2 in there. So for some reason that's not displaying properly. Let's just refresh this page. There we go. Now it's displaying correctly. So the first thing we want to do is make sure our image is 100% of that width. So we can go to the image. What size have we said it's going to be? Actually, just select a featured image. No, it's not a photo. So if you use the thumbnail, you'd use your featured image, but I've actually created a Metabox photo here, just to keep everything in the same space. So there's a photo there. It's automatically a figure. We don't want it to be large. Let's set it to, where's my 600? That's a bricks size there. We can set that to whatever you want. Let's set our aspect ratio to 1:1 and our object fit to cover, so it fits in there. Okay, so that's nice. Lazy loading, that's all good. We can leave all that as it is. Okay, so there's our starting point. In our other example here, I think we've got a grayscale. Now, if you don't know what the property is, you can actually just apply a property and then have a look at the CSS created, or you can use the advanced themer to have a look at that. So I'm going to go into my style for that image. In fact, I just realized a mistake there. Get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of that. I thought we had put a BIM class on that. We obviously haven't. Okay, so we want to put our styling on an actual BIM class. I didn't look up here to see that I had one selected, and I'd forgotten to create one on there, okay? So that's okay, because these are not part of the rule. That's just a standard thing. So we're going to set our aspect ratio there, 1:1, and our object fit to cover. And now it's applied to the actual class. Again, Bricks doesn't always update here properly. Just going to hit the save on that and make sure This does actually look right. There we go. So it doesn't always update quickly. I think that's part of the optimizations because Bricks editor was getting super slow. And I think that some of the rendering has been optimized, which causes these kinds of issues. Okay, so there's our team card, there's our image. Now on our image, we want the CSS filter on that to be a saturation of none, like that, right? But let's say we don't actually know how that actually works. Quite cool. All you have to do is change that. Right click on the image, this if you've got advanced theme, or you can save this and have a look in the front end and have a look at our component class manager. And you can see the component hasn't actually applied it. Why hasn't it applied it? Maybe you got to hit the save first. I've made the same mistake as I did before. You've got to make sure, this is something I do all the time in Bricks, you've got to make sure you select your class and then apply your saturation here. And now if I have a look at the class manager, I can see that is what has been applied to it. So I can grab that. I'm just going to grab that there. Then we're going to take that off. Okay, come back to our team card. I'm going to add a note here to say this is where I'm putting my CSS. Okay, on our team card, I'm going to target the root. What is it? Actually, I'll just put a test here for now. Actually, what I'm going to do, I'm going to make this overrideable. So I'm going to make this a image filter. I'm going to put that filter that for the saturation there on the image filter, and then we're going to target that image photo root image photo. Now with the bricks, I'm going to actually show you something in the front end first. If I have a look at the front end here, when you add an image in bricks, by default it's a figure, which we want in this case. The image is actually inside the figure, so the actual element that gets our team card photo class is the figure, and then the image is inside of it. So we need to know that, because in here we need to target the image. And we're going to set the filter on that to be our var of this background image filter. Oh, just sorry, not background, just image filter. There we go. And now we've got a grayscale. Let's also do a scale. Image scale. And we'll set that to 1 to start with, okay? And we're just going to add a scale of image scale. So there's our image scale there. And it should be just a default as it is for the moment. We're going to use that as a hover effect. Okay. Now, the other thing we noticed that with the image is that it zooms the image, but it clips to the container. Right now, as I said before, one of the beauties of the way using a figure is we've got a wrapper around the image, so we can set the overflow to hidden on the figure, which is straight onto that BEM class name, and then scale the image inside of that so that it clips. So let's do that. So let's go root team photo. And we're going to set the overflow to hidden. Okay. Now, what we're going to do here is, we'll come back to this, is to where we actually make that scale. So there's our image. Now, our heading here, we're going to make that the post title. So I'm going to go back to my content here and just put in the post title. I'm going to add a colon link. Turn that into a link automatically, so we don't have to do all the figuring out what the link property should be. We're going to select this text here, and that is our Metabox position. Create a position field. And this text here, we're going to make that our Metabox, actually not our Metabox, this is our excerpt, our post excerpt. Okay, it's way too long. We're going to have to come back and fix that up. I don't know where we're at so far. So we're getting there. All right. We then have to go to our skills list. We want to turn our skill into a loop. With that loop, we want to use the Metabox skills group that we created. Okay, so this is our skills group for our loop. And inside that loop, we're going to add just a basic text. And that basic text will be our skill. So skills group skill. Okay, and this is just basic with no styling. There it is there. We'll actually name that as skill. And we'll give that skills list a name. It's already got a name. Team card skill. And we'll call that skill text. Okay. Okay. All right, so there we go. So if we refresh that, we've actually got the skills being output from our repeater here, but they're not being styled. All right, so there's our basic starting point. So let's actually, firstly, what we're going to do is look at making this a clickable parent, because if we look at our Firefox here, the whole thing is, even though we get the one link, the whole card is clickable. Okay, so to do that, we need to come back to our card. So at the top level here, we need to make our card, and you can do this in the CSS or some of these simple things. I just use the UI for. If you want to, you can keep all your CSS in the same place. Go down here, and on the root here, you can set that to relative there. It's going to do the same thing. Either way, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so that's it, skill there. And then on the and on the title, we're going to use a ACSS clickable parent. If you don't have ACSS, you're going to have to create your own clickable parent class, which adds an after attribute on the on that link, and it covers the entire space. So you can have to do that yourself. So it's going to add the ACSS one. So clickable. Here's my clickable parent there. Okay, and if I save that and have a look, so now you can see that my whole card is clickable. So my mouse changes to a hand whenever I go anywhere near that card, anywhere over that card, any element, it's fine. Now I'm going to show you the first problem that people come across with clickable parent now. So technically, as I said, in the DOM, we want the title to come before the image. So let's just shift that around. So we're going to shift the wrapper up above the image. And then we're going to, on the image, we're going to tell that one that has a z-index, not z-index, a order of -1. So it puts it to the top. So it looks exactly the same as it did when the other way around, but technically the title comes first now. Now have a look in the editor, and it looks exactly the same. If we look at the DOM, we can see now that the image, this figure here, is after the wrapper. So my title here is the first thing, which is my link. It's the link in it there. So that's the first thing the screen readers are going to find, and then it'll find the image after that, and that's the order we want it in. But it creates a problem for clickable parent. So here's my card. If I roll my mouse over that card, it's fine. Roll my mouse over the image, and I lose my pointer events. Now, why do I lose the pointer events? The reason is because when you put elements onto the DOM, they have a implied z-index stacking order. If you don't put a z-index on an element, it has an implied order from the order that you put them in. So what's happening is this image element is sitting on top of that wrapper element, which means any pointer events on that wrapper are not going to get, you're not going to see them unless you turn the pointer events off on the image, or set the z-index on your wrapper or on your title, whichever one. It's got to be above that. So if I go to the wrapper there now, and I just go to my wrapper there and set my z-index, where is it? Z-index to say 1. That'll do, because the other one's got no z-index. Have a look now. Now I've fixed my clickable parent problem. So problem was that the image, because it was in the DOM after this copy, it sits on top of that link there. Even though that link there has a after or before pseudo element that it covers the entire card, the image is sitting on top of that and interfering with the pointer events. All we needed to do was this wrapper or that link, give it a z-index that sits on top of the card, on top of the photo, and that's it. That's a problem I see a lot with clickable parent, where people get confused. Why isn't it working correctly? And that is the reason for it. Okay, so we're getting there. All right, so let's have a look at the next thing, which is the hover events. Now, what I typically do with hover events is I target from the top level. So we go to team card, style, CSS, target from the top level down. So we want to actually monitor the card hover, not the actual element hover. So we're going to go root, and to make it accessible, we're going to use a where, and we want either when the card is actually hover, or it has a focus within. So either, oh dear. So what that's saying is that if the card has a hover or any element underneath that card has a focus, goodness, then we're going to, this is going to be a rule that's going to be applied. So this here is a link, and it has the pseudo element for our clickable parent. So if that has focus, then this rule applies. So that's a good way of doing it. Okay, so what do we want to do when we get a focus on this? First thing we want to do is override our image filter and our scale. So let's just grab those two and stick those in there, and we're going to saturate to 100% and a scale of, say, 1.2. Okay, so all we have to do to change our property is override those variables. This is where using the variables really comes into its own. We can see that now it works, but it's just jumping, right? It's just jumping. So what we're going to do here is on the image here, we're going to set a transition. I'll just do an all for now of ease of 0.6 seconds. Now we're going to hover in, hover out, 0.6 seconds. What if we want a really quick in and a slow out? What we need to do is the focus within. We need to set our transition all ease 0.3 seconds. So when we hover, it's quick in. That isn't working. Why not? Yeah, it is there. Here we go. Maybe we'll make it even quicker, say 0.2 seconds. So it's quicker in than it is out. Okay, let's have a look at that in the front end. Okay, so we got it working. Our clickable, clickable parent is working, and our image is coming into full saturation and zooming to 1.2, and it's being clipped by the figure, having a overflow set to hidden. All right. Now we also want the the link to look like something's happened as well, don't we? So let's set our actual link here. So the clickable parent, we know we're on the link title. Let's set the style on that in the typography, set that to be our action color. Okay, and when we hover, we can use the, actually we're going to use not the hover of this button because we want to use the hover of the whole card or focus of the card. So we're going to come back to that. So we're going to grab this here, the card title, back to our CSS in our team card. And we want to, I'll just paste that in there for now. So we're going to use the same rule. And then when that happens, we're going to target the title and we're going to set the color to the action dark. There we go. That'll do. Okay, now you can see it changing. Again, we might want that to transition. So we'll go transition. We'll just transition the color on this over 0.7 seconds. I don't know why you do it differently, but did that even work? Is this a builder thing or is this actually not applying? So it's a builder. It works there. Okay, so we're getting there. So this is close to what we have with the other one. Now, a couple of things here is what happens if we have a really long name here or we have different lengths of excerpt here. We need to clip those. So let's have a look at my code box here. In my WP code box, I've created a rule list here of text clamped. There may be an ACSS function for this or set of variables for this, I don't know. But I'm creating some utility classes of text clamps, dash, then whatever the 1 through to 15. And then we're going to use a WebKit line clamp on that. So if we look at the actual CSS, that's the CSS generated there. So we've got our text clamped here. So we've got text clamp 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's say we want to clamp this at 7. Just going to copy that there. Now these won't automatically be in Bricks because the way Bricks works. So we're going to go to our post excerpt and we're going to clamp that to 7. Okay. We're then going to do that on the link title. We're going to clamp that to 1. So we just want one line. And that's going to create a problem for us, which I'll show you. Okay, it didn't actually there, but it can do, where sometimes, depending on the font, it'll clip the bottom. I'm just going to set the line height on that if that happens. Right, so now you can see these here, clip to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines, regardless of what the content is. So we're getting close to this here now, all right? Now we need to style up the chips down here. Style the chips, so back to our editor. There's our skill set. What's this image down here? That's okay. It's our skill set. We're going to make that skill a chip. I think I've already created a class for this. I'm going to have to delete it. So I'm going to call this a chip. In fact, I won't bother deleting. I'll just show you what I've done. Keep things nice and quick. So I'm going to turn that into a chip. Okay, now my chip, what I'm doing is I'm setting some root variables. My border radius, my padding block, so that's the up and down, padding and line, which is the left to right. Got a background color and a color for our text. And then we're going to set all those there and set our white space to no wrap on that chip. And that's our chip done. All right, so there it is there. And if we look at the front end now, we have a chip on all these, but it's not laid out how we want it. So we need to go back to our skills list, and we made that a div because on our skills list we want that to be a display of flex, which it is. We want it to be a row. We want to have wrap on it. We want to actually have that, allow that to wrap. And we want to put some column gap on that. And I think what we'll do is we'll grab this content gap S for small. And we'll use that. So content gap S. There we go. And we'll use the same one for the row gap. And there it is there. That might be too much. Let's have a look here. Does that gap look the same? Where is it? Where is it? Developer P. There's our UL. Maybe that's a little bit too big, so maybe we need to make it a actual number. We'll just say 0.25 m's. I think it's too much gap for these chips. There we go, that's better. So we get to a 0.25 m gap for the chips. So that's it. We're pretty much where we started with this example here, where we've got a, we hover over the card and our image zooms in and saturates. Our text link changes color. We've clamped this to 7 lines and we've got chips for our skill set. Let's have a look here. If I go to the DOM and I press the tab key, that one focuses and we get a saturated image. Next tab key, the next one focuses. So this works. There's some other things we can do with this focus, like we can remove that focus and put it on the outside, and that works fine as well. There was one other thing I said I was going to do is and again, you need to look at my previous video on attributes to, metafields to attributes. I think on this first one, we made that team card. So that one there. No. Oh, no, I haven't done it yet. So in my code box, I've got add this echo MB data rats. You can do this manually because we've only got one attribute, but I like doing it this way because I can just add attributes to Metabox and they automatically appear as data attributes. So I'll show you what I mean by that. So if I go back to my team builder here, go to my card attributes. Let's chuck that in there. All right. So again, previous video for that, but this function here is going to take any of these Metabox custom fields. So my team member here. So the featured meta field, I've added data dash or data underscore to the front of it. So that's automatically going to appear as a data attribute on this card. So data featured is 0 now on that one. Let's have a look at the next card. So on the next card, data featured is 1. So that is because in the when I edited that Alex Morgan, I set his featured using the switch. I set it to 1. So now we can use that. So let's grab this data featured here. Come back to our team builder at CSS, to our style CSS. We're going to target that by setting the just square brackets, paste that in there, root. So it's got to have our class of team card that has data featured equals 1. We're going to override the border. And we're going to set that to 2 pixels. Primary. Okay, so we're going to do 2 pixels, color primary. Okay, now if we have a look at our card, the featured card has our primary border on it. How easy is that? Right? So let's go back to the team members. We don't want Jordan to be, sorry, you want Jordan to be featured. Jordan to be featured as well. Update that. Refresh our page. Now Jordan's featured as well. We don't want Alex to be featured. So turn off his feature in Alex. And now Alex is not featured. Okay, but they've still got everything else. So that, again, previous video, which talks about Metabox fields to data attributes automatically. You could just as easily have gone into this particular, because it's only got the one. You could easily have gone into there and just gone into the attributes. You could have gone data featured, and then, say, for example, here, if I went data featured, and use my featured, could just as easily have done that because it's only the one data attribute, right? But using the other method, if I decide, actually, I want to add a whole bunch of little controls to, what badge does this guy have? What certifications does he have? And are we going to style it differently based on those certifications? We could change those in the just by adding the switches in Metabox, adding the data underscore under it, and it automatically appears as attributes as long as we put the the token up here, which I showed in my previous video. So it's a way of not having to go in there and go add another attribute to add each of the data attributes. You just add data underscore to the ID in Metabox, and it automatically sticks it in there for you. So this one here, because you only got the one, we can just go data featured and then pull that directly from Metabox, and that works just as well. All right, so there's a lot to cover in there. I hope that all makes sense and is something that will help you. If not, chuck some questions in, and when I find some more time, I'm happy to to make some more videos. So let me know. Thank you.